It's a rare occasion where a protester interrupts a public town hall and it's a member of Team Red. This is almost the exclusive domain of Team Blue. And if you can go find one example out there in history of the opposite being true, don't even bother adding me. Just go ahead and admit that Team Blue, they're the party of the protesters. They're the ones who go get a foam core sign and stand out in the street. They're the ones who have the weird chants and play the drums. They're the ones who pitch tents and sleep in either the campus for the Palestinian terrorists or sleep in the park for Occupy whatever. So This is one of the problems is if both sides were doing this, there would be less of an issue. But this keeps happening over and over. Here in the state of Texas, the voters overwhelmingly, looking at some surveys, somewhere north of 70% of them want school choice, school vouchers. There's an overwhelming consensus on property tax cuts and so many of these other things that just never get done when we send our representatives to D.C. Now, for a lot of us, the complaint is, well, they're not actually going out there and doing what a limited government, conservative-minded politician should be doing. They're pretty much siding with Team Blue. However, Team Blue shows up at these events and shouts them down. Now, let's look at this. If you go to a public event, if you go to a town hall put together by an elected representative, not even a guy that's trying to run, the guy that's already in office. So it's not like you're trying to prevent him from being in office. He's already there. His job is to represent the people. He's making himself available to the people, and you don't allow the people to ask questions. You don't allow him to give them answers. You don't allow transparency and a dialogue back and forth. Are you still the good guy? Do you think you're the good guy in this scenario? Because I have two local town halls just this week that had to put up with this. The first one I saw, because this is out kind of my neck of the woods, Palestine, East Texas, KLTV reporting. Representative Harris had to close his town hall early because hecklers wouldn't shut up. And so an event that was supposed to go for 2 hours, made it barely 1 hour, and the hecklers win. The hecklers ended the event and shut it down because nothing was getting done. And here's the report.
Switching gears, East Texas Representative Cody Harris is responding after a contentious school voucher town hall last night in Palestine. The crowd booed during the meeting, and the lawmaker left the stage around an hour into what was scheduled to be a 2-hour meeting.
Listen to this. You're a trash human being if that's what you do. I'm not going to pull any punches here. That is garbage behavior that I wouldn't allow my children to participate in. My children would be grounded if they acted like that. I would be embarrassed to see my children act like that. Much less me act like that. And it's not like a one-off. Here is another state representative, Keith Self, trying to do a town hall in Wiley.
So the other one is the Doge program. This is very closely akin to This is very closely akin to what Bill Clinton did between 94 Bill Clinton only plans to cut 400,000 jobs between 94 and 2000.
What about KSAT?
This is adults.
If you're going and interrupting these town halls with public representatives, elected representatives, you're on the wrong side. You're the bad guy. 800-288-9227. This is William in Pottsboro. You're on WBAP. What do you think?
Yeah, first of all, did you go to a public school or a private school?
I went to a public school.
Okay. Do you think private schools, if they accept vouchers, should be subject to the same assessment test? The
No.
STAR test?
No.
No. Why?
Well, because that sort of defeats the purpose of having school choice. It's not, let's have a school choice, but these other schools, they have to follow the exact same rules, admission requirements, testing requirements.
You are absolutely wrong.
Why am I wrong?
Well, how do you think public schools are judged?
Most of the time, they're judged by these tests and then by attendance of the students.
So you don't think the private schools should have the same criteria?
No.
Well, you are absolutely wrong.
How?
And because you're saying you're on two different fields.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. They're taking money to go to a school that does no accountability. They don't have to have any assessment test. They don't have to know whether or not they're making the mark or not.
Well,
most of them aren't.
Well, they have. Hang on.
Do not make the mark.
They don't have any government accountability, but maybe government accountability is the problem.
Well, why would that not apply to public schools then? Maybe the government accountability is wrong. You reckon?
So the government accountability is wrong.
You judge if two teams get on the same playing field. Don't they play by the same rules?
Yes, but we don't want them to play by this.
You don't want schools to play for the same rules?
No, I don't.
No.
I want there to be a diverse array of. I want there to be a diverse array of schooling options. That's what school choice is. Not you can go to this school or this school. Now they're all the same and they have the exact same oversight and the exact same testing and the exact same curriculum. That's not school choice. School choice necessarily means some of them are going to play by different rules. And I don't see lack of government oversight as a bad thing. Before governments had oversight over public schools, before public schools were even a thing, which is still relatively recent in human history, we would graduate high school speaking Latin. And now we graduate high school, we can't even read in English. So no, I don't want them to follow the same rules. And they do have accountability. They have accountability to the parents. Oh my goodness. What an amazing concept that is. Because how is that different than the public schools? Because now as a parent, I am forced into a prepaid government monopoly in schools. I have no school choice unless I have enough disposable income that I can pay my way out of it. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's good. And that's not fair or good to the least among us. It's fine for the rich people. It's fine for the people that can afford it. But for those of us who can afford it the least, school choice super.
See what's going on sometimes.
All right, he just hung up. Yeah, I did pot him down because he was going to do the thing where they talk over you because you're making good points and they don't actually have a comeback to it. No, schools and the public realm are failing all over the place compared to what society had previously in place. And if you want to have school choice and still have them all follow the same failed rules that the failed public schools are failing at right now, that's a terrible idea. Completely defeats the purpose. You can't imagine schooling outside of the realm of government control. What manner of statist are you? What level of fascist or socialist are you? You can't even fathom. Oh, my goodness, they're not going to be accountable to government. How could it possibly be good? The opposite's true. They're failing because they're accountable to government, because they're not accountable to teachers, because parents don't have a choice. They can do whatever failed program they want, and they're not going to lose students because people like you want to force me to have my kids be geographically determined in their schooling. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. This is the kind of guy that goes and interrupts town halls, too. And, you know, if the facts were on your side, if history was on your side, if the scores, the results, the tests, the surveys were on your side, you wouldn't have to interrupt town halls with booing. You would be able to actually win the debate in the court of public opinion based on the merits of your argument. But you can't. And that's why you heckle. That's why you boo. What's going on with school choice? We've been wanting school choice. We tried to get it done 2 years ago with like 18 special sessions. Remember that? Wasn't that embarrassing? And so are we going to finally get it done this time? Well, it's not looking too good thus far. And so they come home to their districts. They do some town halls. And what do they get for their troubles? They get booed out of the room, apparently, for bringing up anything that doesn't fly with a handful of protesters there. Here's Keith Self in Wiley a couple days ago.
Is the Doge program.
I know, boo. He said Doge, boo. So I'm making the point that if you go to a town hall where your elected representatives, this isn't a campaign event. This is a guy who's already in office trying to answer questions from the public. Public's trying to get some answers from him. You know, this is a dialogue. This is a two-way street. And you go out there and you shut the event down by heckling. You're a bad person. You're not in the right in this situation. You're in the wrong. Look out for the fascists. They're supporting free speech. What? You're the fascist, not supporting free speech in this. And what are you doing this for? You're sticking up for Doge so we can spend $903 for alpaca farming in Peru? I didn't make that up. That was just from the Doge Twitter feed at DOGE. So what do you think about this? This whole school voucher thing was something that got a guy booed off stage in Palestine a couple days ago. What do you think? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Start with Katie. Katie in Dallas. You're on WBAP. What do you think?
I think we might have a solution. There should be some enforced monicum of diplomacy in these town hall meetings, like they have in city council meetings. Marshall's there. Whoever's talking gets a microphone. When your time's up, microphone shut off. And if somebody wants to cause a disturbance, they're escorted off the premises.
Yeah. If someone stands up and boos, they are asked to leave. If they don't leave immediately, they're arrested. They're charged with disturbance or, whatever we give kids for having a party and being too loud, because that's not cool. You can't just go out there and disturb the public like that, disturbing the peace. There's got to be something that, and I don't want to hear people like, oh, you're against free speech. You want to shut up your political opponents. It doesn't matter if they're on my side or not. If they're standing up and booing, I am not punishing them for their speech. I am punishing them for getting in the way of other people's free speech by not saying anything, by just going boo. Like that's real brilliant. This is your contribution to the public debate. Like, do these people really think that they're the good guys? Is this not evidence that you're on the wrong side if you have to just go boo down someone in a public hearing?
I could not begin to describe what's the matter with these people. It's immature. It is infringing on other people's rights. And they don't want to hear anything. They complain that they don't have enough information, but they won't be quiet and listen.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hey, if the facts are on your side, you pound the facts. If they're not, you pound the table. James in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. What do you think about this?
I think that if you want to take my tax dollars and send somebody else's children to a public school, that is abuse of my tax dollars. All of my children went to a public school. All of my kids graduated from college. All of my kids were officers in the military. Public school is not a bad place, but taking my money and sending someone else's children to a private school using my tax dollars to pay for that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
If you want your
Agreed.
kids to go to a public school, a private school, get your butt a part-time job and pay for it. What I say is get the federal government out of the education system. They can't run anything, and let the state take care of themselves, or even all the way down to the district level.
Well, see, that's what I like about part of me is libertarian, is the raging consistency you have there. Because I used to do a show with a fellow who happens to be gay in New Orleans, and he said, explain to me how that's fair. Me as a gay man have to pay taxes to a public school when I can't even have kids. I'm like, it's not fair. We should get rid of the public school. We're on the same team here. This is, when you put it like that, this is kind of an anti-LGBT system we have set up with the public schools. We're taking money for public schools from people who aren't going to, procreate.
Well, LGBTQZRP can adopt children now, so they would put them in some kind of school, I would hope. But to pay them to homeschool or to take X number of dollars of tax dollars and apply to a private school is not correct.
All right, we agree, so that's no fun. Thank you for calling, James. I appreciate it, sir. Mike in Cleburne, you're on WBAP. What do you think about this?
Yes, sir. My whole gripe was about the gentleman that called a little bit ago telling you were wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
Fun guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm telling you, it was a blast. But the fact of the matter is, look at it no different than college. You've got all sorts of people that, they choose this college or choose that college. It doesn't really matter where they're going as long as they get their education. And as far as the testing goes that he was griping at you about, some colleges are accredited. Some colleges aren't accredited. Some colleges have this accreditation and don't have that accreditation. What difference does it make as long as they're getting the education that they are wanting to focus on? Some colleges are based on our nursing programs. That's where they want to go. It's no different as far as schools, in my opinion. Some of these students are going to learn better in one school as opposed to another school.
Yeah, and one of the things that bothered me about the Obama administration is their attack on for-profit colleges. I thought that was terrible because if they're staying in business, that means that they're providing a good or a service that is more valuable to the people that are going there than the money that they're giving the college. So even if they are making money out of it, the people who are participating that are getting an even better benefit, they're learning how to code or they're learning how to work on mainframes or some other technical thing. And, I think the government's big problem with that is it didn't have what the rest of academia had. Sure, we'll teach you how to be a doctor or we'll teach you how to, to do a tax return or be an engineer or something. But you got to take all these other social justice classes. You got to take all these lit classes and all these humanities classes. And you got to go through this whole indoctrination on these other classes that have nothing to do with your job. And to have a school that whittled out all the indoctrination and just do the skills, that was something that was just untenable for a big state.
Well, and to bring it back to the school, down to the school level again, James, I have a grandson that, he's been to a couple different schools because he has, a disability and he was not working well in those schools. And they finally got him into a school now and he's thriving. He's doing amazing. I mean, his grades have, tragically improved. His attitude has drastically improved. All sorts of things. If they're allowing kids to go to a different district and learn in a different district, as long as the child is learning, as long as they're getting what they need, what difference does it make? Seriously.
All right. Well, it's fun agreeing with people. Does anybody disagree? Mike and Cleburne is right over the target. I have nothing to add to that. Here in Texas, we're having town halls with our representatives, state representatives, and they're getting heckled. People showing up and they're booing and they're not able to finish their town hall. And, I expected them to protest. And, everyone, you have your free speech. You're allowed to go out and hold up a sign and say whatever you want to say. But when you're blocking highways, when you're interrupting public town halls, you're not on the right side anymore. You're the bad guy in this. And I just don't get how they can't see it. Anthony Russo is my next guest back on again. Anthony, do they not see that they're acting more like the fascists they claim they're opposing?
Well, I mean, there's a difference between grandstanding by making a statement and doing what they're doing. They're taking it to a level they're impeding a process where people are using their freedom of speech and also conducting the way that we grow as a community, local communities, and of course, we're also predicting something to happen tonight on a federal level when Trump addresses Congress. But it's impeding in the whole process that is our government because they're mad about just little things that they're allowed to disagree with, but not in the fashion that they are. It's like, blocking traffic, the same idiotic lack of care for fellow citizens.
Well, there also seems to be a level of coordination to it. Like, how did y'all all know to show up and boo at the same time? You're not all independent thinkers who just coincidentally did the same thing.
Well, that's obviously the $1 million or $1 billion question. We always wonder who put bricks in, downtown Dallas during the riots. Who is the one that's coordinating all these people to show up at the exact same time? Because that the quote unquote Antifa type people couldn't plan stuff like that in the past. There's got to be a higher power that is funding and also organizing something bigger. But as always, Trump has, the Trump people, MAGA people, whoever you want to look at, that are the ones getting trying to be silenced. They've got an army against them of people that are well funded, well equipped, and given the exact same thing to say or do. In this case, boo on a regular basis.
Well, and then here's the other part on the national level is you had 22 senators put out a video with the exact same script, and now it's all being put together, and they've sort of made a mockery of themselves. Like, how inauthentic do you have to be before your voters catch on?
Like, you have to ask yourself the question, did not one of them think, all right, this is the script we're given, let's go ahead and make some deviations? They couldn't even deviate on when they take their deep breaths. I mean,
right. Let's improv a little here.
Like, just to do a basic edit. It's like they all got it off of ChatGPT, and they had the exact same script. And the fact is most American people, unless they have the ability to look at social media and maybe somebody on the opposite side, they're just going to read this propaganda. They're going to read into the propaganda as it is some miracle of thought created by the leftists, a horde that is coming up with these thoughts that are rooted in truth. And you know what? They're not rooted in truth. They're rooted in opinion, and it's an opinion that's not even that of the person they're hearing speak. It's of a greater power in the Democrat Party.
All right, Anthony Russo, I appreciate your time. You can find him online. I guess your big outlet right now is you're killing it on Instagram?
Yes, sir. Instagram's the place to find me. Truth will set you free, USA.
There you go. Thank you, Anthony Russo.
Have fun.
Paige, Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. Thanks for holding on. Your thoughts on the town halls and the school choice and all that?
Hello. Yeah, I wanted to talk about one specific thing, actually. I agree with you on everything you said about the town hall and the interruptions on it. But about your friend that, can't have kids and then paying taxes, I called somebody one time. I don't remember if it was my CPA or I called the tax office directly. I was kind of complaining about that because our taxes have gotten so ridiculous. And I said, we don't have kids in school. We'd already raised our kids, and why do we have to, and whoever it was that told me knew what they were talking about, and they said, still not fair, I don't think, but they said that the reason is it has nothing to do with that. You can't make that argument. You can't dispute it or anything because it's for the greater good. Basically, we all benefit from an educated society, and so everybody has an obligation, and it's distributed equally, whether you have kids or you ever will or not.
Yeah, and that's the type of thinking, it's for the greater good. We should all get this very important life-saving commodity for free. And so how well has that worked out? Has our education gotten cheaper or better since we did the public schools? No, it hasn't. But we've also seen that exact same language, that exact same approach to other economic scarcities. And I mean that in the technical economic version of it, where why not apply that to food then? Don't we all need food to survive, even more so than schools? And so whenever the countries do that, well, let's have a 5-year plan where we can all get free food and everyone gets free food because can't live without it. And then millions of people starve because government's terrible at running programs, and the private sector is definitely, over the course of history, it's crystal clear that it's better at providing resources and distributing them and dealing with scarcity more.
And there's no cap on it. There's no cap on the taxes. They just keep going up and up and up. More people keep moving into the state of Texas, for example, and it just keeps making our property taxes go up and up and up and up,
Agreed. Again, there's only so much fun to be had when we agree. Thank you, Paige. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let me squeeze in one more, Garrett. I know we're about out of time here. David, can you do this in 1 minute?
I can. So mine is that, the anti-voucher, then those who choose to take their children to a private school, religious school, then they should be exempted from school tax on the county. They should be able to take their tax dollars themselves and put it towards their kids' education. As a gay man, I pay $3,000 a year, and I'd rather take that money and sponsor an underprivileged child in a private school for a better education in my eyes. I went to public school. I know what it is now, and I don't like it.
Man, that's a super nice thought. Right. If you're so concerned about the kids who aren't going to go to school, do something about it. And what you just described there, David, is exactly what happened before public schools. Of course, there were some poor families that couldn't afford to send their kids to a nice private school or a nice boarding school, but the communities always came together and pooled resources and made it happen from private voluntary donations from the good of the charitable American heart. And we will be just fine without some overarching bureaucracy at the county level, state level, and federal level, all making the same rules on the same school. It didn't work. It was an experiment. We tried it. It failed. Can we at least go back to just privatizing education? And thank you very much for squeezing that into 1 minute. Look at David in Denton. Thank you, sir. What do you think about a gigantic water park in Allen? The whole thing, I mean, it sounds huge, 123 acres. And it's not just a water park. There's going to be all kinds of other amenities in there with the shops and the restaurants, convention space. And this sounds big. 900 hotel rooms. Wow. So this isn't just a handful of slides and a concession stand. This is sure enough water park. I mean, it sounds, I don't know how many square feet the Wet n Wild is, or Hurricane Harbor, or whatever they're calling it for the last 20 years. But there's, of course, some people who oppose this. There's some people who say, well, progress, not on my watch. And it's the same arguments. Well, when I lived here and I moved here, I had a nice little residential neighborhood. And if that comes in, then there's not going to be like convenient on-street parking, and there's going to be a lot of traffic, and there's going to be a whole lot. Oh, shut up. For all you people who want peace and tranquility, and you don't want to see another building being built within eyesight, and you don't want any traffic, and you don't want any on-street parking, here's my advice. Don't build in a metropolitan area of 8 million people. If you don't want to be around people, go where there aren't people and build a house there. You're squished in Allen. You're between McKinney and Frisco, and you have just development pretty much on all sides of you. And if you're like, I'm over here off of Lake Clavon or whatever it's called. Well, okay. Right. You're just like, it's just going to grow into you within a matter of years. Like you people who moved to Princeton, they were like, I wanted the small town quiet life. Well, then you need to move further out. There are 8 million people that are looking for a place to go to sleep and go to the bathroom. Okay. And it's going to crowd out the spaces. If you insist on living, 30 minutes from downtown, you're not going to get tranquility. You're not going to get an absence of traffic. If you want all that, you're going to have to do what I do. You're going to have to live way the hell out in the middle of nowhere. And you know what I don't have to worry about? No one's going to build a water park out in Buck Tussle. Or, I'm not even in a town. I'm between like tiny towns, none of which necessitate a water park. But you can't come and live in the middle of DFW and gripe that people are building crap around you. That makes no sense. I think some of you need a hobby, or maybe you need to donate some time to the local orphanage or homeless shelter or something. Because if you get upset when someone is coming to invest over $1 billion in your neighborhood, something is wrong with you. You don't think that would be good for Allen? You don't think the jobs created by 123-acre water park, 900 hotel rooms, convention center, shops, concessions, maintenance, electricians, janitors, Uber drivers. This would be fantastic for your community. You may not think it would be best for the tranquility that you've enjoyed in your backyard up until this point, but that's a sacrifice all of us are willing to make. That's what happens. If not, we would never get a tall building built. We would never have any progress. We would never have a downtown. What if the people who bought into like downtown Dallas, like 60 years ago, when they were on the edge of town, they were like, I don't want anything building where I can see it. This blocks my view of the sunset. Well, what would we just say, a small town forever? Because some crotchety old guy doesn't like seeing anyone else build stuff? I think there's a little bit of envy built into this mindset, too. A little bit of envy. Well, this is my backyard. They don't get to build a building. Well, look, if you wanted to build a building that blocked their view, I would defend you, too. You're just not in a position to do it. And who the heck has beef with a water park? You know how happy my kiddos would be? You know how happy your kiddos would be, or maybe grandkids? I don't know what phase of life you're in. But these people, and they act like they have like a legit complaint. They're like, well, this would really strain the existing infrastructure. Okay, so that means what? Let's go ahead and build it, and we'll expand our infrastructure. Yeah, problem solved. Who are you even talking to? But it bothers me that we have a vote on this. That the people that want to build this, they have to go to the city of Allen, and then there's some Allen Economic Development Corporation, and they got to have some town hall. And what are we going to get? Are we going to get more of the screeching, shouting protester people? Are we going to get a bunch of people say, don't you dare invest in my community. Don't you dare spend $1 billion making an awesome water park and all the thousands of jobs that go with it. Damn it, we want to stay mired in the status quo forever. Build the park. Please, people, if you have a problem with it, just keep your mouth shut. Let the rest of us have access to a park, a water park. What are you against fun? Are you the Grinch? All right, that's going to do it for the James Show today. Keep coming out to the podcast. I see I'm getting a little bit more traffic, but tell someone else about the show and help me spread this thing on social media. Go find me, James Parker, WBAP, Facebook, YouTube, whatever you're already on. Like, follow, subscribe, share. Everything helps, and I appreciate it all. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.